welcome to the Money Tree. I'm David Holt.
And I'm David Marks.
And today we decided to dress up a little bit. This is our 20th episode. Am I right?
We should celebrate, right?
Hey, we're celebrating. Got our nice blazer on. Man, I don't know where you got that, but that looks
It
so
looks really
good.
sharp, doesn't it?
It
I went
does.
with a good. I like to try to dress with the seasons, so I went with good fall undertones and colors, and that sort of
Well,
stuff.
I'm going with the spring because it's a beautiful day outside.
It was awesome. When I pulled into Valley Head this morning, 47 degrees.
Valley Head's the coldest place in the world. Just in case you
In the
didn't
world.
know, that is the coldest place in Alabama, I will say.
It is the coldest place in Alabama, I believe, according to.
What is that, do you think?
I think it's because of the location of where it sits between the two mountains, but I don't know any scientific.
So they'll saying location, location, location.
That is true. That is
How about
true.
that?
Maybe some of the cold air off the trains. I don't know.
Terrains.
The trains,
You
not the
said
terrain.
Terrains. And by the way, we're sporting a new look over here. It's called
True.
the clean shaven face. Tell them what your school kids said today.
Well, for those of you who may need a good laugh out there, I was going around, and of course, I don't even know if the faculty and the students there have seen me without facial hair before, but I walked by one of the elementary classrooms, and one of the kids was like, "Mr. Marks, your face is naked." So I'm sporting the naked face look for this week.
For all you out there that may want to know, I want to know, how long did it take you to shave all that off?
I probably put a good 15 minutes into it, and it took 3 razors, especially on the mustache part.
3 razors?
It was
Do
awful.
y'all know how frugal this guy is? I can't believe you spent that much money to get clean shaven.
It was rough, I'll tell you that much. It was like sandpaper on my face, on my lip, because trying to shave this part off was really bad. But it'll grow back in a few days.
Like 24 hours.
Yeah, well, I haven't shaved in, 18 hours now, so.
I see the scruffiness right there.
Yeah, it's a little scruffy already. So
We digress. I'm sorry. It's our 20th episode, and we decided to make it fun.
Right, do you think we can have maybe some balloons and streamers in there?
That would be nice. You would think
Digital
our camera
effects.
guy would get that arranged, but no, he did not.
Well,
He's too busy
but-
checking his email.
But they might digitally put that in, which is
Hey.
even more awesome.
How about that?
Maybe
We
some
love the floating balloons and the, what's that, confetti that comes
Confetti,
down?
or pyrotechnics. Yes,
We
big explosion. It's
may be surprised.
Like a professional wrestling match.
Once the editing is done, you never know.
you never
what
know.
our
I would love
editor-
it. I think that would be
What
awesome.
do you call that person that edits the videos? That's the videographer's the
Videographer,
one that
maybe?
takes it.
Digital processor.
So there you go, Chad. You have a challenge.
You're challenged to put some pyrotechnics in there. I would love to see it. That would be awesome. So anyway, before we get started, I do think that it's important that we take a few minutes to thank the ones who make this show possible, since we have made it to 20 shows. We couldn't do it, of course.
Are we
without-
syndicated now?
We are syndicated now, which is pretty awesome.
Our first season? of
Right,
the Money Tree?
and we are now live streaming every morning, and I'm not sure if we'll continue to do this, or we're just kind of working with this right now. Every morning at 6:30, you can actually watch an episode on our Facebook page. So as you're getting up and your kids are being dragged out of bed and you're having to burn the toast, flip it on the Facebook channel there, and you can check us out and see what we're up to.
Actually, I got a message the first day you did it. I was like, what? What's going on?
Yeah,
Turned on, and there we are.
yeah. So
Just as cute as ever.
that's right, and we sounded very smart that morning.
I'm telling
I
you.
think we sounded smarter to me at 6:30 than we do sometimes later in the afternoon. So, but without MountainValleyNewspaper.com, we could not make this happen. They do an awesome job, and of course, they take the time to let us come in here and joke around and laugh and talk and tell you guys and gals about money.
Stuff.
Right.
And the other thing, if you go to our webpage, you will see our videographer. His
You
name
will.
is Arlen Blevins. They call him Monk because he acted like a monkey when he was a kid. But there he is in all his glory.
And he does a great job too. And of course, we also want to thank Farmers TV, Farmers Television TV, I should say. They do a great job at showing the show and making sure all that happens. Chad Brown, he does a fantastic job at putting the background behind us, because what you guys don't know, or what you may know and just don't see, is that it's a green screen behind us. So all those effects have to be added in, the music, all that. They do a great job of that. And of course, now we have new outlets.
Yes, we have WVSCM Radio, AM 1500 in Rainsville, 103.1 Rejoice FM.
Right, and you can actually listen to us there on Tuesday afternoons at 4:30. And the great thing about that, if you go to moneytreetv.org, which is our website, There's a radio page where you can listen to the episodes, and you can listen to their live stream. Even if you want to listen to some contemporary or old-timey gospel music, you can listen to it via our website, or you can also do it
I don't
through
think
theirs.
old-timey is the actual word I would use. It's called traditional Southern gospel during the day and praise and worship in the evening.
Well, you know, sometimes I have a very limited vocabulary when I've worked at school all day long and I've printed out over 500 progress reports.
He has
yada,
a
yada.
plethora of things to do.
I'm so proud of you for using that word. That's
I've been
like
waiting on
bonus.
that one.
That's a
If y'all
bonus.
just knew the script we're trying to follow.
Yeah, right. So
There is no script, by the way.
Right. Well, there is an outline that we write, and then we go from there.
Actually, he writes the outline.
That is true. So here's what we're going to talk about this week, and I do feel like this is something that's very important. It's going to hit a pretty large age range, and I was actually surprised at what we're going to show you in just a few minutes, but we're going to talk about the money mistakes millennials make. All those M's.
Wow. The money mistakes millennials make.
Yes.
Can
And
you say that 4 times?
if you can say that 4 times fast, you can probably do better than I can, because I would not be able to. It would just sound like a bunch of So, let's go ahead and look at our first slide, if we can. Looking at that slide, I want to talk to everyone and for us to just take a few minutes to discuss what exactly or who exactly is a millennial. We hear that term being thrown around all the time, and we hear people talk about the millennials, and you know, each generation has kind of been labeled that. I think maybe your generation was the tail end of the baby boomers, maybe. I think I had that discussion with my dad that he's in that generation also. So every generation has to have
And you
this.
are generation.
I'm a millennial.
That's true.
I was really surprised by that. So looking at that slide, seeing that Time Magazine, of course, it's not like they said, okay, we're going to set the defined time on this, but Time Magazine set that as anyone born between 1980 and the year 2000. So I was born in 1982, and so
You are
therefore
at the tail end.
I'm at that front runner stage of the millennials, and I really didn't think that I was a millennial because I thought that I fit in maybe the group before that.
Which was Generation
X, I guess, yeah. So Generation X, but surprisingly enough, I do fit into that millennial category, and of course, that's anyone between the ages of 17 or 18 to 37, and I'm 34, so I fit into that age range there. So millennials also they grew up in an electronic field, and I have to say this. Growing up as a millennial, even though I was on the front end stage, I was discussing with someone today about how awesome it was growing up in the 80s. Even though I was a small child then, I remember it very well that you still rode in the back of a pickup truck. We had toys that would probably not be acceptable today, like Tonka trucks made from real metal and things like that. And we were just kind of talking about everything that's changed. And so I do feel like it was a good time to grow up. We had a start of things like the internet, and I remember when I went to Henniger Junior High School, and I remember there when we got our first computer. So millennials grew up in a little bit different than Generation X maybe, and they definitely grew up different than the baby boomers in that the fact that they grew up in that time frame when the internet became open, technology really started to blossom and grow, because how many cell phones did you have in high school?
Zippo.
Right, and I had one my senior year.
Really?
Yes. I kept it under the seat in my truck because I wasn't real proud of it. It was a bag phone, and you literally had to plug it up to the cigarette lighter. And of course, had great call reception on those things, but it weighed about 30 pounds. No, it was more like 5 or 6. It was very heavy, and
Like a pocketbook.
It was like a pocketbook, and it had 10 minutes a month. So you better use that for an emergency only. So we see how that technology has changed even for the millennial generation. Now, why this is so important and why this is such a huge topic that I feel like we need to talk about today is because I want us to take time to cover those mistakes millennials make, but one of the reasons why I feel like they make this is what we have on that slide there that says that according to TechTalk, and I pulled from several different resources, I always feel like that's good when we're covering something like this. According to TechTalk, millennials have a sense of entitlement and narcissism.
Are you serious?
They do. So
you think you're entitled?
I'm not saying that I do. And
You are a millennial, and according to Tech Talk, it say that
Well,
you're entitled and you're narcissistic.
Tech Talk would Yes, TechTalk would tell you that I'm entitled and I'm narcissistic. And if you're not sure what that is, that's someone who thinks too much of themselves. That's a good way to put it. If you really want to do more research on that, sometime when you're Googling something, speaking of technology, look up narcissistic personality disorder. There's a counseling term for you there. And that'll cover maybe what a narcissist is.
And you know, when you do all this research, you just find very pertinent information that's just so spot on.
Well, I'm almost like those machines in the Terminator movies. I have become self-aware. I now know what I am.
Actually, I wanted to be a little.
You should take some jabs.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So,
That's what I wanted to do. You finally got it. You know, you holler at a ball game, whoop, whoop.
Right.
And, you know,
so
you
now
come to,
I get to wear the
like
banner of
in church and
narcissism.
you got to put your elbows down.
Right. So now
Some churches, let me rephrase that.
Right. So now I have to understand that I'm a narcissist entitled millennial.
Even though he came in at the tail end, he still feels entitled.
Right.
But you know, really, doesn't most of our society feel that way? Because we have drive-throughs, we want the answer yesterday, we have to talk to our computers, the Echo, Siri, answer me.
Well, and now, that being said, when I was a 6th grade teacher, I had a program that I did with my 6th grade students called the Half Biscuit Initiative. I know. So the reason that this was named and the reason why this was developed, it was to do kindness towards other students. And this came from my great-grandmother on my mother's side, who always had the little slogan and phrase that she taught me, that if she had a biscuit, her neighbor had half a biscuit, which would be the opposite of a narcissist or an entitled person. They shared what they had. So I definitely think that those that grew up in the pre-World War II, Great Depression era, those who are in the baby boomer generation, they do not have the same mentality as the millennials in their possessions and what they have. And
I share.
right,
He doesn't. He hoards.
that is not true. Well, maybe a little, but I hoard to share when people need it. So maybe that's a good way to look at it.
My neighbor, if I have a biscuit, he has half a biscuit.
That's right. I would share 1/3. No, I'm just kidding. But really, I don't feel like that everyone in this falls into the millennial. Even though we're a millennial, I do not feel like that we all fall into this category, because there's definitely those who, as we start looking at the money side of this, do not fit the stereotypical millennial person. However, we are seeing that millennials are the wrecking ball of our future economics in America.
Wow.
And
Is that a statement you've researched, or
that
is that just your own
that is
opinion?
a David Marks statement.
Oh.
And the reason why
That's the book according to David.
if you read chapter 17 in the book The Money Tree that David and I are going to write, you will see that chapter will be titled The Wrecking Ball of America's Future Economics, and it will cover the millennials, and because they're going to set up the pattern and the wave of financial troubles that will even cover whatever this next generation will be called. I'm not sure. They may be called the post-millennials. I don't know. Would they use that term, post-millennials?
Probably not.
We should come up with a term.
Can we trademark it and get royalties?
Possibly. Depends on if TechTalk wants to cover that, I guess. So while we're here and while we're talking about this, let's go ahead and take some time to look at slide number 2,
Okay.
which is going to be called Costly Money Mistakes Millennials Make. David, I'll let you.
I see that you've got 7 on there.
I do. And I
We're talking about each one individually?
We are.
Okay.
And I know that I kind of attribute this to the 7 deadly sins. This is the 7 deadly mistakes that the millennials will make. And so, number 1, and I'm going to let you jump in here when you'd like to, but number 1 mistake.
I'll tell you what, let me read it and then you tell about it.
Oh, that's awesome. Go ahead.
So we're going to tag team here.
It's awesome.
I'm so glad I get to read.
That's
on
where the
teleprompter.
pyrotechnics come into play.
Number 1 mistake. You want to start there or start at the bottom?
Let's start at number 1.
Number 1, failing to set up a budget.
Yes. According to Realtor Magazine, and like I said, I pulled a lot of statistics, 22% of the millennials analyze their spending. Only 22%.
That's not much.
That is not many. So what we see here is there's a trend where they may make more money than generation before them, the baby boomers. However, not boomers.
Generation X.
Yeah, Generation X, whatever. They're not looking at where they're spending their money.
They're just spending it.
They're just spending it. Letting that money just free flow. Just let your money flow. Wasn't that what the Bellamy brothers sang?
Let your love flow,
Oh, that's what it was.
not your money flow.
Right. So
Unless your name is Arlen Blevins, then you let your money flow.
That's right.
Because you have all these grandkids
Or
you're trying
Millennial.
to pay for and take on vacation and cooking steaks for that we didn't get invited to.
Right. It happens. So millennials, listen up. Number one mistake, you need to get on a budget. If you're not on a budget and you want to start doing that, of course, we have an episode we covered budgeting, but also go to moneytree.tv.org.
Downloadable things.
We
you
have
can
a
get.
downloadable Excel sheet that tells you exactly where your money's going. All right, Dave.
All right, number two. Mistake number two. Too much college debt without returns.
Yes, one thing that we are seeing with millennials is that their monthly payments on average are $351 a month.
For college debt.
For college debt coming out of college. Now, here's the kicker to that. Generations before typically went to college for a purpose. They were going to be an engineer, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, whatever the field may be. They found an occupation or a career that when they came out, there was typically something. Now we have this generation that can go in and they can get a degree in multicultural television studies. And who are you going to work for with that?
Mountain Valley newspaper.
But how many jobs are going to be available?
Not many.
Right, that's the point.
My dad used to call it underwater basket weaving.
And that's it, the underwater basket weavers. They're getting a degree that, you've earned that college degree. However, you're getting a degree in something that's so specialized that there's not a huge demand for it. It would almost be the same as if we said we're going to have horseback mail carriers. Those are kind of obsolete now.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make sure that if you're going to college, millennials, or if you're thinking about going back to school, that you pick a career that's in demand. And of course, you know about resources for that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. That's one of the things I've been doing today, meeting with seniors, talking about their career plans, what they want to do,
Absolutely.
and most of them have no clue.
They have no idea.
So you do an interest inventory, and they're like, well, that's really not what I thought. Oh, I understand. I changed my major in college. I think you did
I did
too.
also, yes.
There's nothing wrong, but you got to have a plan to do something. Now, I will tell you, I was a little concerned today. Met with some students that are early graduates, and all of the four that I met with today, want to take some time off.
But that's the wrong time to take. You take time off when you're 65 plus.
I'm just
Or
saying,
2 weeks paid vacation.
I'm trying to explain to them they need to start college immediately.
Absolutely.
Why don't I take some time off? One wants to take some time and raise some funds so college will be easier. However, if that student is paying all their expenses, there's money available for
Absolutely.
them to jump in and just continue their education. If you ever quit going, it's so hard to start back. Just like when you skip church. It's easy for you the first time, and the next time it's a little bit easier.
Well, and the thing about that is if there's 500 scholarships out there they can find, they need to apply for every one of those. That's like a job. Because if they are turned down on 492, there's still 8 that may pay them more than what they would make working a job and the scholarship money they'd receive. So, yes, they need to go ahead and go to school.
Yeah.
So
that was number 2.
All
Number
right.
3, no savings account.
Yes, according to Go Banking Rates survey, 69% have a savings account, which you may think is a high number, but really it's not. However, and this is the kicker to this, 80% have a social media account. So we see what is really the priority in our life. Savings and being fiscally sound is not as important as seeing
Social
what
media.
our ex is doing on Facebook, because that's
This week I was at the hospital in the waiting room, and I was watching people who were there because of a family member who was having some procedure or whatever. And it was just one social media thing. Everybody was on their phone. No one was talking. It was too busy seeing what's going on with the world.
Sure. And I use social media. I'm not gonna lie. That's something that I use and I enjoy, and I think it's a good tool. We get to use that with Money Tree. However, the millennials are setting up the post millennials for an even stronger use. If 80% of the millennials using, I would say 95% of post millennials or more will be using social media.
True.
But they're not. That's fine. But they're not saving money.
Yeah.
So if that phone gets dropped and broken, they're going to have to put it on a credit card to pay for it because they don't have savings.
Which we know the interest rates are way too high.
Yes, they are.
All right, let's move on. Number 4, postponed retirement plans.
Yes, 62% of millennials contribute to a company retirement plan. However, only 18% contribute to an outside IRA or an outside savings plan like a retirement plan. So this is something that millennials, you need to get it in gear on. and I really had to brain block there for a second.
Get it in gear.
Because I want to be,
More blunt.
Yes, I wanted to be blunt with that.
The naked face is coming out.
The naked face is coming out, and you need to make sure it is great to contribute to your company. But let me tell you something. If you work for JCPenney or Sears, years ago, your IRA that you might have had with them, or let's just more call it a 401k or pension plan, looked stellar because their stock was high, they paid out dividends. Now, not so much. And that's the thing you have to be careful of. Companies are so fly by night now, and brick and mortar stores are having a harder and harder time to stay up, that you may not be able to count on that retirement. So you've got to invest. Take care of yourself and your family's future. Open your own IRA tomorrow. Call a broker and do that.
I see something that's not on here, but can I bring it up?
Absolutely.
Just a thing?
Absolutely.
In my day,
Mm-hmm.
in the old days, there was loyalty to your workplace.
Yes.
There is not that
No.
with millennials.
No.
I'm until a better, greener pasture comes available, they're hopping over.
Sure, and I am a very consistent person. I like stability. So for me, I want to keep that job that's going to be stable. I know what it is. I don't really want to take that risk. However, I know of those who are very close to me who will jump ship in a heartbeat, and they will go to another job, and the grass always looks greener.
And usually it's less than 2 years.
Yes. Yes, they'll change jobs very quickly, and there's nothing wrong with that if you're bettering yourself.
If you're better,
if you're growing in a company, hey, if you're a great salesman and this other company poaches you and says, "Hey, we want you," that's great. Just be very leery of that. But you can't build a retirement plan in one company when you change a lot.
So you better have an outside something you're saving.
You better put it into a Roth. Roth IRA.
Hey, listen, this is his baby. He loves.
love
I mean,
Roth
he
IRAs.
goes to bed and eating on snacking on Roth IRAs.
I do.
Okay, let's move on. Mistake number 5 that millennials make are neglecting their credit reports.
Only 54% say their score is important to them. This is where it's huge, compared to 85% of baby boomers. So if you're a baby boomer generation, then your generation was very concerned about your credit, how much credit you had, what your score was, and only 54% of the millennials are. So if we see the post-millennials one day, it may be 30%, 25%. So they're setting up trends, A, for their children one day, and B, they're not worrying about their credit, which tells me they don't care if they have debt or not. See how that is like a snowball? It starts out very small, and then it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds as it rolls down the hill. That one mistake starts rolling into another and into another. So they're not real concerned about their credit.
And you can tell he's very concerned about credit. We're
Yes.
trying to give you options, not to fuss at you.
No, I'm not trying to.
Although he gets a little passionate about the ideas.
I do, because I want my generation to be the generation that reestablishes wealth in our country. Not that we're wanting to be, Mr. Moneybags kind of thing, but I want us to have sound financial security, because that takes care of future generations, and I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Okay, mistake number 6. They are too optimistic.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm a very optimistic person. However,
Wait, today on this show?
I'm very optimistic as far as in the choices that you and I and Mr. Blevins can make.
Okay.
Not every millennial can make those good choices. Some will. But what I mean by this is they forget the fact that it took their parents 20, 30, 40 years to get to the financial place they're at now.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're supposed to come out of college with a degree in underwater basket weaving, and a guy's going to give them a job at a desk doing what they want to for 6 hours a day, making $100,000 a year, and they're going to be able to buy that new convertible car and maybe even get access to the corporate card and the private plane. They're not going to have that. They're too optimistic. They don't see that it takes time. It takes time.
Did you see he almost got on a chase there?
Whew.
You reeled it back in.
I did. I was like seeing myself losing breath, so I was like, pull it back.
The old time evangelist when he's
That's
gasping
right.
for breath.
That's right.
That's where we were going there for a minute.
Yes. If you're a millennial, millennials remember it takes time. Slow growth is better than quick growth. It takes time.
Exactly. So just remember what your parents have. They worked a long time.
They worked a long
to
time
get
to get it. And the big one, mistake number 7.
Mistake number 7: place a vaulted value on their own worth.
This goes back.
I don't understand vaulted.
This goes back to being a narcissist. They think they're more worth. Their worth is actually higher than it actually is. And this relates to number 6. They think that when they come out of college with a degree in underwater basket weaving, that they're worth $500,000 a year salary, corporate card, and a jet. Now, of course, we know that human life is worth a lot, but if I walked into school tomorrow and said, "Oh yeah, I'll show you, I'm a counselor and I can do this, have fun replacing me," they're going to have somebody else that they can replace me with.
Is that why, not all young people, but there are a few young people, when you ask them if they want to work, they're like, well, what am I going to have to do?
Right.
Well, what are you going to pay me?
Right, and that's the big thing.
That was not an option. I mean,
Sure.
I had to go work, and working in the potato sheds were not the most enjoyable thing, and I don't think kids today would do it for $2.50 an hour.
No. Well,
but in those days, that was the only way we had to make any money.
Absolutely. I had said something to one of the teenagers at school because I was like, "Hey, I used to push mow my neighbor's yard for $5 a week," and I was like, I was happy to get that, and they're like, "I wouldn't do that." Oh, right there you go. That's the millennial, point of view, is that work is beneath me, so I shouldn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a millennial out there, millennial to millennial, if we can talk for just a second.
Uh-oh, it's getting real.
You need to realize that there are other people out there who can take your job away, that you need to work for what you want in life, that you need to monitor your money and be a good steward of what God has given you, and that you please, please, please check your credit score and have a Roth IRA. That's all we ask. If you will do that, David will sleep good at night, and I will too.
That is the naked truth.
That's the naked truth. That is exactly
We
right.
are running out of time, so we've got to get to our stock picks. You told me we were going to have plenty of extra time today, and we do not.
Oops. My bad.
So we got 3 minutes. Here we go.
I was a little narcissist.
Stock pick, quick picks.
Quick picks. Here we go.
Can we start at the bottom where it's cheaper?
Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. How's that sound?
That's good.
Let's go ahead and look at slide number 3. First stock I've got on here this week is Intromedics. ETRM is a symbol.
No, ETEM.
Right, it's ETRM.
You typed it wrong?
That was a typo, folks. Now, this is 175 to 180. They have a V-block program they do. This is for weight loss and weight management.
Everybody wants to take a pill.
They do, and this is actually a device that works off electronics and digitized system.
Really?
It's very safe. It's minimally invasive. I can get that word out. I set their target price at $4 a share.
Hey, that's a millennial thing.
It is. So
take a pill. I don't want to have to do sit-ups.
And this is actually just something your doctor puts in you, kind of like a pacemaker in a way.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Next one is Five Oaks Investment. This has been on here several times. I think it's great. It's a buy at $4.15 to $4.25. Pays a dividend monthly of 14%. Has a low PE ratio, but I still feel like it's a good buy right now. This is one of those you buy it and you ride on it, you hold it. The next one is Threshold Pharmaceuticals. MTEM is the symbol. I feel like it's a buy at $5.75 to $6. It's a chemical tanker company. It has lost 4% in the year, but they could produce a gain of about 11% in time, and if nothing else, you're going to gain that 11% in a dividend.
Okay.
So they're going to pay you 11% dividend. Aereo Century Corporation, the next one, ACY, it's about $12.50 to $13. Its current year earnings have surged 9.9% over the last 30 days. So very good there. And my last one, I'm still on this one, Orchard Island Capital, ORC, buy at $9.50. The fund offers a 15% monthly dividend, and it will continue to recover in time. $11 is the price target I have on it for next April.
That's good. That was a quick way to do these in 2 minutes.
We had better,
3, and now we got to kill a little time here.
Well, we can kill a little time.
Okay.
You want to do that? Millennials, you need to open a Roth. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that to you. Guys, listen, it has been a blast to record 20 episodes. And then we always want to thank MountainValleyNewspaper.com, Farmers Television TV, Farmers Telephone TV. I'll get that right. Arlen Blevins, Chad Brown, those guys do a fantastic job. Now we want to thank WVSM and Rejoice FM. They are doing a wonderful job.
AM 1500, 103.1 FM.
Right.
We appreciate Mark, Kay, Miss Annie Ruth for putting our show on their station.
Absolutely.
And if you've got a local station you're aware of, we'd love to talk to them about adding our show to them.
That's right. We would always look to spread this more. Guys, remember, we have been blessed. God has given us so much. And we are wealthier than probably the top 95% of people in the world. We're very blessed.
I think sometimes we as Americans don't realize how blessed we
Right.
are. Any third world country we would go to, we would be wealthy millionaires there.
I think what I heard one time is if you have food in your mouth, roof over your head, and clothes on your back, you're in the top 10% wealthiest people in the world. So yes. So guys, remember, you cannot know financial peace unless you first know the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ. If you don't know Him, then nothing else is going to matter.
Amen. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you and all your encouraging words. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.